Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James H. and today we're finally starting the franchise that so many of you have been waiting for, Final Destination, beginning with the original film from the year 2000. Final Destination is a film that asks, what happens when you escape death? Its answer is that death comes for you. The film's screenplay was originally written by Jeffrey Reddick, based on one of his own spec scripts for an X-Files episode. After New Line purchased the film, they brought on director James Wong and producer Glenn Morgan, who together rewrote Reddick's original draft. The final film was further altered after test screenings by New Line founder Bob Shea, Michigan's own, who had found success years earlier producing the Nightmare on Elm Street films. With all those cooks in the kitchen, Final Destination kind of ended up being a horror film by committee, and it sometimes feels that way with all the weird little asides and disjoint tangential ideas that never really add up to anything. The idea at the core of the film, however, was a powerful one that resonated with audiences and would lead to the production of 4 sequels, each made a few years apart from each other, and with the last 2 filmed in glorious 3D. That core idea, which would be repeated in every installment, is all about death getting even. In each film, one character's graphic and detailed premonition allows a small group of people to escape a major catastrophe that would have otherwise killed them. The premonition disasters are a hallmark of the series and usually do a great job exploiting common fears like flying, automobile accidents, roller coasters, and going to NASCAR races. The survivors who escape these accidents, thereby cheating death, then begin to die in the order in which they were supposed to, and they don't die in any old way either. See, in the Final Destination series, it turns out that death, kind of a little schemer, and instead of just making these people's hearts give out on them or anything, death sets up elaborate mousetrap-like chain reactions that oftentimes lead to an unusually violent death. These graphic Rube Goldberg kills are the other hallmark of the franchise, and as to be expected, they grow more and more grotesque as the series continues, which, yes, will mean some censoring in the public releases of these episodes, while explicit versions will be available for patrons. Sorry man, it's just how it goes. How many kills will death score in this first film, which seems so quaint compared to what's to come? Let's find out and get to them. The movie begins with a thundery, rainy title card. The opening credits play over cryptic images of hanging dolls and oscillating fans as someone gets ready for a trip to Paris. That someone is high school senior Alex Browning, played by Devon Sawa during the 2 or 3 years he was a hot commodity. Although maybe we're about to get a Sawa-naissance, since Devon stars in the upcoming film The Fanatic alongside friggin' John Travolta and directed by Limp Bizkit's own Fred Durst. Yeah! Alex is a superstitious kind of guy who's nervous about his French class's flight ahead of him.
Oh, mama, you gotta leave that on. I tell you, man, the last flight without the plane crashing or anything, so I figured it's gotta be on the bag, or at least with the bag.
Pretty paranoid there, but I can't hate this guy when he's got a Buck Cherry poster hanging in his room. They were the first band I ever saw live, and I don't care what you say, that first album was a banger. Alex goes to the airport, where we meet some of his classmates who will also be going to the City of Lights. First, there's resident fuckboy Carter, who's played by Kerr Smith, who would go on to be in My Bloody Valentine 3D. Carter's got a girlfriend named Terry, who doesn't do much other than make out with him, and he likes to spend his time bullying nerds like this hockey jersey wearing kid named Billy Hitchcock, played by Sean William Scott. Yep, as you will come to hear, Carter's a dick.
Let me give you a hand with this, man.
There you go.
Carter, you dick!
There's also the obvious love interest for Alex, a girl named Clear Rivers, played by Allie Larder. You can tell she's a squiggly lines intellectual because she walks through the airport reading Henry frickin' Miller. Alex's best friends, though, are a pair of brothers named George and Todd. Todd is played by Chad Dinella, who would go on to be an obnoxious piece of shit character in the obnoxious piece of shit movie Saw 3D.
You're crazy. I knew you were crazy the minute I laid eyes on you. Crazy.
But in this movie, he's not so much a piece of shit as he has to take a shit, and he and Alex are so tight that they're bona fide pooping partners. Although they ain't singing together like Demon and Anita, their pre-flight dump does feature some music, since the radio is playing Rocky Mountain High by John Denver.
During a plane crash.
Uh-oh. A coincidence like that is sure to freak out the superstitious Alex right before he boards Bully Flight 180.
Your birthday is the same as your departure time. September 25? 9:25.
And I guess that coincidence will freak him out too? But wait, Alex, what are you freaked out about here, man? That's just a flight status board. It's useful information. Alex gets worried about a ton of things in this movie, which are always presented with foreboding push-ins and bass tones. But everything's so innocuous, it's hard for me to take it seriously. Like, that's just a plane, Alex. It's not ominous. It's just 20th century travel technology. They board their flight and feel reassured of its safety by the sight of a crying baby.
That's a good sign. Younger the better to be a fucked up guy to take down this plane.
Oh, that's kind of dark, but I guess it's a solid line.
A really fucked up god.
Okay, that one might be in bad taste though. Alex takes his assigned seat, but is asked to switch spots with one of these generically attractive early 2000s chicks. He does, and although his new seat is next to Todd, its tray latch is broken, and you know the airline ain't gonna do a damn thing about that. The plane's takeoff is smooth at first, and everybody cheers. But things take a tumultuous turn real damn fast, and pretty soon those oxygen masks are popping out of the overhead. But hate to tell you folks, a little bit of extra airflow ain't gonna help when a fire starts on board and a whole row of seats get sucked out the side of the plane. Holy shit! Another fire burst spreads through the cabin, and we watch Alex's face cook for a nice hot minute until he finally wakes up back in his original seat on the plane, those she's all that looking chicks asking him to switch again. Alex quickly determines that his dream was more like a premonition, and he calmly explains everything he just saw to the others on board.
Fucking plane's gonna explode!
Haha, never mind. Alex fucks shit up and even fucking starts a riot. A riot! During the commotion, a handful of students are removed from the plane along with both teacher chaperones. Todd leaves his brother George to go check on Alex, and Clear opts to remove herself voluntarily, since things are getting so spooky. The pilot bars all of them from his plane, but since both French teachers are here, they convince him to let one of them back on board to chaperone the rest of the class headed to Paris. Although Larry Murnau offers to stay, Valerie Luton insists he go ahead, so she stays behind as he reboards the plane. Alex tries explaining himself, which only leads to another fight with Carter, and while they scuffle, Billy watches out the window as the rest of his class heads to Paris.
There they go. Here we stay.
Yep, there they go, alright. Flight 180's explosion somehow breaks the airport windows, which I would like to see myth busted, please. And just like that, we've got a new kill count record. The movie will later give us a number to use when it reports that 287 people died on Flight 180.
All 287 passengers are feared dead.
See? As far as premonition kills go, I won't be including them on the kill count because they're just visions. And besides, the same people end up dying for real later and getting counted anyway. As you might expect, everyone is immediately suspicious of Alex, even though he rightfully claims he didn't cause the explosion to happen. Dude, just be happy this was pre-9/11, or you'd probably already be on your way down to Gitmo. Even pre-Patriot Act though, the FBI is obviously getting involved, and two bland dudes in suits introduce themselves as Agent Wayne and Agent Shrek. Yep, Agent Shrek. The DreamWorks movie came out 2 years later in 2001, thereby making this character retroactively hilarious. Fun fact though, Agent Shrek is named after Max Schreck, who played Count Orlok in Nosferatu, and many other characters are also named after classic horror film creators. You got Alex Browning, who comes from Todd Browning, director of Universal's 1931 Dracula, Agent Wayne, who comes from Robert Wayne, director of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and of course, Billy Hitchcock, who comes from Alfred Hitchcock, director of like a billion movies, including The Birds. These feds are also suspicious of Alex, but they're unable to learn anything during their questioning, except that Val Luton feels guilty for sending the other teacher back onto the plane. Survivor's guilt, man. It'll get you. A month later, there's a funeral service for Alex's classmates, and in their honor, the school uncovers a statue of a bird? Really? Maybe you should have gone with something that doesn't remind people of flight. At the service, we see that everyone's got a different reaction towards Alex. Clear thanks him for her life, Billy believes that he's a full-blown psychic, and Ms. Luton is literally repulsed by him.
Don't talk to me, you scared the hell out of me.
As for Carter, he's still got no love for the Sowister, and instead decides that his survival has left him untethered to the mortal realm.
I'm never gonna die.
The worst fallout for Alex, though, is that Todd's dad blames him for the death of Todd's brother George, so the Poopin' Pals are presently off limits to each other, no longer allowed to defecate as a duo. And so, that night, Todd is forced to take a solo squat in his bathroom at home, never noticing the drippy valve leaking behind his porcelain throne. For some reason, he tries to shave his non-existent facial hair only to cut himself before a cloudy image appears behind him in his mirror, portending the fatal disaster that awaits him. Look out, Todd, that leaky water's coming at ya! And it's blue for some reason. That's weird. Over at Alex's house, the other excommunicated poopeteer is just about to engage in a little tuggy session when he instead uses his smut to scare away a voyeuristic hootie-hoo. His penthouse gets caught up in the fan, and he's left with a warning sign from fate, or whatever. Todd! But it's too late for Alex to save Todd, since death has already caught up to him in the form of a slippery fall into a clothesline. The mechanics of it wrapping around his neck are a little wonky to me, but at least there's this cool image of his eyes becoming bloodshot. Todd struggles for quite some time, but he's unable to save himself, not with scissors nor with traction. Todd dies in his bathtub with a clothesline around his neck, while death covers up its tracks. Wait, what the fuck? Why is death cleaning up the evidence here? It's not like you're gonna get arrested, Death. That's literally the one and only time something like this happens in the entire series. But part of me will always wish that we got a series where Death was just a shady 2-bit criminal who had to cover up its own deeds. Anyway, Alex runs over to Todd's house, and although he's too late to save his friend, he is just in time to look shady as fuck to FBI agents Shrek and Donkey. Alex goes to talk to Clear, who's taking a break from reading Tropic of Cancer to weld stuff in her garage. Her metalwork pieces that she shows off to Alex include a statue of Billy the Answerhead from Figure It Out.
Who's the springy head guy?
It's you.
Oh, never mind. I guess it's supposed to be Alex. And Clear says she made it because she feels some kind of emotional connection to him.
4 years of high school, we haven't said one word to each other. At that moment on the plane, I felt what you felt.
This is one of those half-baked ideas that I think kind of muddles up the movie. But because of Clear's feeling mabobs, she knows that Alex feels like death is still around them.
It just feels like it's all around us.
Is that something that you're feeling?
Alex feels like he'd know his feelings better if he was able to feel Todd's body. Feel it spiritually, not in like a weird way. So the teens decide to break into the local funeral parlor to pay Todd's corpse a visit and see if they can feel any answers out from it. At the funeral home, they encounter the coolest motherfucking mortician this side of a closed casket funeral. Tony Fuck Yes Todd plays Bloodworth, a character with an awesome name that's only given in the credits. And as to be expected, Mr. Todd tears this scene the hell up as he tells the kids that their friend's death wasn't a suicide, as it had been ruled and reported, but it wasn't an accident either.
In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
Bloodworth tells them that death has a design, and by walking off that plane, Alex and his pals cheated death, but only temporarily. Now death's drawing up a new design for everyone who escaped. And although Alex wants to figure out and defeat Death's new plan, Bloodworth tells him that there are risks to cheating the Grim Reaper.
And you don't even want to fuck with that, MacDaddy.
That's always been another weird line to me. I've never figured out exactly what Tony Todd is talking about there, but whatever. I'm just happy to have him in a scene.
I'll see you soon.
Not soon enough, Mr. Todd. Alex tells Clear that from now on, they need to be looking out for omens of death. Kinda like that reflection in the window of a bus that isn't really there. But you know who is actually there? Carter, whose driving is just as dickish as his pedestrian behavior.
Dad.
All of a sudden, all 6 of the remaining survivors find themselves together outside of a coffee shop. Coincidence? Or something spooky? The usual bickering gets underway until Terry tells Carter and Alex to knock it off.
They died and we lived. Get over it.
Yeah, get over it. Like this bus gets over Terry's body, boom! These suddenly hit by a vehicle kills are kinda common nowadays. But I remember being floored by this kill the first time I saw it. Almost as floored as Terry's body after that bus hit her, zing. And I wasn't the only one rocked by it either. Test screen audiences took so long to calm the fuck down after that kill that the filmmakers literally had to add 40 seconds of inconsequential chill out footage, where Alex and Clear both make Alka-Seltzer drinks. That's that's why that weird little scene is in there. Alex continues trying to figure out a pattern to these deaths, and he comes across a new clue when an unlikely graphic in a news report shows, in detail, the path of destruction on the plane after its fuel line caught fire. A little of this, a little of that, and holy moly, we've got a convenient itinerary of death that Alex can follow to determine the pattern.
They're dying the order they would have died. That's death's design.
And according to Death's Design, Ms. Valerie Luton is next. Ms. Luton is currently packing up her house so she can move to a new town and start a new life. But not if the invisible breeze of death has anything to say about it. Careful, Ms. Luton, death's even in your teapot. Spooky! I do think the shadow reflection stuff is kinda dumb, but not as dumb as Ms. Luton's behavior after she pours herself some hot water for tea. What the fuck was that? I guess she got spooked because the mug has the high school's logo on it, but it's never really played well to me, and in fact, this entire convoluted setup for her death feels pretty forced and clunky. Ms. Luton cancels her tea and instead pours herself a beverage that's cold and hard. The change in temperature cracks the mug, which leaks out a trail of vodka on the floor before some of it seeps into her computer monitor. Things kick into high gear when the monitor explodes, catching Luton in the neck with some glass and starting a fire that follows her along the vodka trail. And listen, I know that's a handy trope for writers, but liquor isn't flammable unless it's 100 proof or higher, and most vodkas are only 80 proof. Maybe this would be believable if Luton was knocking back some 151, but she wasn't, so it isn't. The fire spreads to the kitchen, where it blows up her bottle of vodka, and the explosion knocks Luton to the ground. When she reaches for a rag so she can get a head start cleaning this whole mess up, it pulls down a block of knives, and one of them stabs her in the chest. It's right about then that Alex runs over to her house to check on her. He finds her on the floor bleeding to death, and after one final explosion from the oven knocks a chair over, which drives the knife in deeper, Ms. Luton finally dies. After she's gone, Alex stupidly grabs the knife, getting his fingerprints all over the murder weapon. Well, don't drop it there, dude. Take that shit with you and bury it somewhere. Come on! The last 4 survivors all get together, even though they're still far from being friends.
Carter, you dick!
Although Carter and Billy grill Alex about who the next one on death's list is, Alex says it doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up, you idiots. That kind of language and an increasing sense of desperation causes Carter to snap, and he puts the pedal to the metal.
May as well go out on my own free will, right?
As Carter speeds through the streets, Alex has a couple of premonitions about seatbelts breaking and passenger trains not braking. As if on cue, Carter stops the car right in the middle of some train tracks. And don't look now, but shoot, motherfuckers! Billy, Clear, and Alex all file out of Carter's car while he stays seated, calmly waiting for his death. But at the last minute, he decides that it ain't his time. But that might not be for him to decide, because all of a sudden, his car won't start, and his doors won't open, and his seatbelt won't unbuckle. Ay caramba! Armed with his knowledge that the seatbelt will break, Alex intervenes and saves Carter's life right before the train goes all Back to the Future 3 on his Chevy Nova. I guess that one wasn't death-proof. Thank you, Editor Zoran, for that joke, because I don't know cars. Alex tells the others that Carter was in fact the next one on death's checklist. But does that mean everyone's safe now? Or is Carter still at the top of the list, like Billy thinks?
You're dead! You're dead! And you ain't taking me with you!
Then travel alone, mofo. Billy gets a sudden half decapitation from a hunk of metal junk kicked up by the train. Dude, where's the top of my head? Maybe check behind the mail truck, Billy. Alex quickly logics out that because he intervened and saved Carter's life, death skipped over him and went to the next person on the list, which was Billy. And after Billy, Alex is next. And after Alex, Clear is next. Oh no, what should they do?
Why don't you two just get the fuck out of here?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure, let's do that. And we can just end this scene here with a fade to black. Fuck it. Sometime later, Alex is hiding out in a woodsy cabin owned by Clear, and is doing everything he can think of to death-proof the interior. These kind of seem like some janky-ass safety measures though, Alex. Is this really the least dangerous setup you could think of? That looks unstable as shit. And why are you eating cat food? Is cat food safer than people food? Great, Lucy will be thrilled to hear it. While playing a game of Crumply Dumply with some newspaper, Alex sees sees a picture of those hotties from his class who had asked him to switch seats on the plane. And then he realizes that he never actually did in real life.
I never moved. Claire's seat was in front of mine.
This is another point that's always kind of confused me a little bit, and I still don't fully get it. But I do know that gusts of wind mean death is on the prowl. It's now going after Clear, who's the next on its list for reals, with some zappy lightning and a wacky waving power line. Alex heads out to help Clear right as Agent Shrek and co. roll up from the swamp. They're still chasing after him because, you know, his fingerprints were all over the knife they pulled out of Val Luton's chest, idiot. But Alex gets away from the cops in a fucking canoe? What? Yo, Rockstar needs to make GTA Venice pronto. As Alex shakes his tails and runs through the woods to Clear's house, the wild and out power line somehow manages to turn her whole upstairs into a full-blown pyrotechnic show. I don't know what's causing those explosions, but they all look very staged. Clear escapes into her garage and gets into her car, then decides that the safest way out is by reversing straight on through the garage door. Shockingly, that doesn't work, I said sarcastically, and she winds up trapped with a beam through her windshield. Alex arrives to find Clear being harassed by the world's most persistent power line. He engages in a shovel fight with it, like he's out of ammo playing Day of Defeat, but his efforts only lead to another series of unfortunate events, and by the end of them, fire has gotten involved as well. Alex tells Clear that he's going to grab the power line so she can get out of the car before it explodes.
It'll skip you and it'll all be over.
Although she cries for him not to, he goes ahead and does it anyway. Right as the car explodes and blows both of them to the ground. Is that it then? Did Alex die? We're fading to white, so yes? Actually, no. Although originally, yes. The original ending did have Alex dying right there in Clear's driveway, and it was followed by a denouement showing Clear giving birth to a child she had made with him. There were some other deleted scenes where it was implied that the two of them boned on a beach, and where it showed that Clear was pregnant. So in the original ending, where both Clear and Carter survived, they were finally able to beat death by bringing new life into the world. Although that concept was removed from this film, they would explore it again in Final Destination 2. As for this original ending, Bob Shea had it changed after test screenings to the much more punchy and less schlocky ending that we all know and love. That maybe makes up for the time he changed the ending of the first Nightmare movie to include that awful shot of a sex doll being pulled through a window. The real ending, which was filmed in reshoots that cost a few extra $1 million, takes place 6 months later. In it, Alex, Clear, and Carter, all looking pretty different, are alive and well and finally fulfilling their trip to Paris. They sit at a cafe and toast the ones who didn't make it, celebrating the fact that they beat death's design and have won a new lease on life. But Alex isn't completely satisfied yet. He breaks out his crackpot map and points out that although he intervened to save Clear's life, no one actually intervened to save his. So shouldn't he still be at the top of death's list? Carter acknowledges that Alex may have a point, but he's not too concerned for his own safety.
For all I know, it could circle back and get us all again. But I am the safest fucker in the world because you're still next.
Don't speak too soon, Carter, because it's time for things to get spooky! Yeah! Bring on the breeze and the foreboding flames. Alex tries to leave the others so they can be safe, but as he walks away from them, a near accident with a bus triggers yet another Rube Goldberg death contraption that leads to a big old 180 sign swinging down to kill him. Thankfully, Carter intervenes and saves him by knocking him to the ground.
So who's next?
You's next, Carter! The movie cuts to black right before the sign hits him, but the kill is confirmed in Final Destination 2. And also, come on, Carter obviously died there. Excellent last minute kill, too. Death may be coming for us all, but how many did it catch up to during Final Destination? Let's find out and get to the numbers. A record-shattering 292 people died in Final Destination. Obviously, I don't know the demographic breakdown of all the 287 plane victims, but aside from them, 3 men and 2 women died, so we can put them on the pie chart in some barely perceptible wedges. With a runtime of 98 minutes, we had a kill on average technically every 20.14 seconds. But yeah, you can see here why averages aren't always useful. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to Billy Hitchcock. I almost went with Terry, but I've always loved how the effect of this death looks. It's the one kill in this first film that hints towards just how gory the series is going to get. Dull Machete for lamest kill will go to Valerie Luton. I know all Final Destination deaths are convoluted, and that's kind of the point, but even with later deaths that are more fantastical, I find them more believable than Val's unrealistic reaction and her trail of flammable vodka. And for the Final Destination franchise, I've got a new award to give out each episode. The Primo Premonition, which will go to the coolest death that takes place only in a vision, since those don't go on the kill count. For the inaugural award, I'll give it to Alex Browning himself. The crash of Flight 180 doesn't have as many interesting individual deaths as the catastrophes in the sequels, so I've just got to give it to the main character burning up like that. It's pretty damn shocking the first time you watch this movie. And that's it. Final Destination came out in 2000 and would be followed by a steady stream of sequels that we'll start looking at next week with part 2. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count. I'd like to thank some patrons like Fright TV, Daniel Molds, Victor Reyes, Jennifer, and John Stanford. Like I said before, the Sunday Kill Counts are over right now. For Final Destination, I'm just gonna focus on making these episodes the best I can. That means 1 kill count a week for at least the month of August. But don't worry, we've got some fun times ahead. Thanks everyone, be good people.